Hello and welcome to 3ABN Kids Camp for Ready, Set, Explore, where we search nature out and have fun without a doubt. I'm your host, JB Scout, and we're going to be talking about making a campfire. Are you excited about that?
Yeah!
Woo! I am so excited. I love campfires because there's a lot of things that we can enjoy and have fun and cook on it and just warm ourselves up. Well, this is great. I want to thank you for joining us, and we're going to talk about different types of fires. Did you know that there's different types of fires?
No.
No? Well, we're going to get started and talk about what we need for a good fire. One of the first things that we need to do is make sure we prep the ground. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is you want to make sure you get all the little sticks away and you get all the grass away and you see that rock rim there? You put a little rock rim, so that's so you can contain the fire. It's really important when you build your fire that you can control it and contain it, okay? You want to make sure you got some good rocks as a border. You want to make sure that if it's going to be windy, you need to make sure how big that fire is going to be. Because if the fire gets too big, guess what? You're going to have to douse it down or do something so it doesn't get too big. Because when a fire gets too big and the wind blows, those sparks will jump to some brush and it will start a forest fire. You want to hear a story that I had? Well, one day I was building a fire and I had some brush that I wanted to burn. And it was a nice day and the wind was blowing on the top of the hill. And I thought, oh, it's okay, it's not gonna be that bad. I lit it and it was a beautiful fire. Where I went down the hill by the river and by the lake, and it was a little more windy. And I thought, boy, it's gonna be really good. I'm gonna start this fire and it's gonna be a great fire. I started it, and all of a sudden, this fire was going like really high. I mean, it was getting big, and it was getting bigger and bigger, and the fire was turning green. Now, when a fire turns green, that means it's really, really hot. So it was getting bigger, and then the wind started blowing, and the sparks were flying, and all of a sudden, I saw a fire over here outside around the fire pit, and I was like, oh no. So I went over there and I got it out, and then another one started, and all of a sudden it just got too big, and then the fire just started going up the hill. Do you know what I had to do?
What?
I had to call the fire department because I had a forest fire that I couldn't contain anymore. So they came out and they put it up, and man alive, I think I lost a few years of life because I got very, very scared. So you want to make sure that if it's windy, you keep the fire low and you keep it small, okay? One thing that's very important, and I know you viewers need to remember this too, that when you do a fire, that you need to have a bucket of water. Now, most of the time, you'll have a river or a lake or something. Sometimes in the high country, you may not have it, but you need to be careful in the high country that it's not too windy if you don't have a bucket of water. But anyway, you have a bucket of water, and I got some water in here, and if it gets too big, you can douse it out and really control it really good. Now, these are some of the areas, some of the items you need to prepare for your fire. It's very important. Make sure you clean all the leaves away and make sure it's ready for that fire so it doesn't jump, okay? Okay, now, we have 5 different fires here that we're gonna be talking about, and we're gonna start with this one over here. So does anybody know what that looks like? What does that look like? That's just basically a stump, right? And it was cut in 4 and the insides were cut out, so it has a hole in this log, right? And you see a little metal that's keeping it together and a piece of wood so air can come up in it. And this is called a Swedish torch fire. That's right, a Swedish torch fire. And what you do is you put your cinders and your little materials to start your fire, and you just put it in there and you start it up. And the great thing about this fire the Swedish torch fire is you can put a pot on top of it and it will cook for a long time. The fire will go for a very long time. The air will go on the side of it like that, and it'll just burn for hours and hours and hours. So it's a great fire. Okay, I'm gonna go to this fire. This is a top-down fire. And so what's good about this fire is if it's rainy and a lot of things are wet on the ground, you can build this up with the bigger logs on the bottom and bring it up, put the smaller sticks on the top, and then you burn it, and all of the fire flames and all the things go down in, and it burns out all the water that's in the lower logs, and it burns. This one is the actual hottest fire. The top-down fire is the hottest fire. Now, you all know this fire over here, and that is the what fire? What does it look like? What does it look like? It's a camping fire, okay. But what does it look like? Indians usually have this as like a home. What's it called?
Teepee.
It's a teepee fire. Very good, thank you. So this is a teepee fire, and this is one of the most common fires that you may see. What I like about this fire is it goes up nice and high. Now, as long as you don't have a lot of wind, that is a great fire to have. And it's a lot of fun to have when you have a lot of people around, and it's just a neat fire to see. Now, this fire right here, with the wood going back and forth, is called a log cabin fire. Doesn't it look like a log cabin? So if you build a house that looks like a log cabin, the boards go either way like that, okay? Like perpendicular to each other. And that is more of an aesthetically pleasing kind of fire. It looks good, it's kind of interesting, and it burns well as long as you get the sticks in there and it all goes well there. Okay, and the last fire I want you to, I want to talk about is this fire. What does that look like? We built something with that name, and it's kind of like a home. Does anybody know what it is? It is a lean-to fire. So you build it up on one side, and then you put the logs on the side and you bring it down to the ground. And the important part of this fire is if there's a lot of wind coming from that direction, it protects the fire down in the middle. Kind of cool, right? So you could build a barrier, and then you put your fire down there, it protects it, it gets nice and hot, and then it burns the rest of the logs. Yes?
What if the wind comes on both sides?
Well, then you can build kind of a lean-to that has two sides. That's a very good question. So basically the concept is you build the fire so it protects from the little ambers that you're trying to build. Kind of makes sense, right? That's a lean-to fire. Now, some of the things, building a fire is really great, but you need to have good starters, right? And what do I mean by starters? Like starter fluid or starter kind of how to get the fire going. So what do you usually use to get the fire going?
You can use like one of those things that you can like.
Okay.
Like this flint stick.
A flint stick? Very good. Yep. What is the most common? How about a match? Okay. So a match here is one of the most common, and you just slide it across and it burns and you stick it under there. And what I do is I like buying the waterproof ones so if it rains or whatever, I can still do it when it's wet. Now, some of the other things that I like is you can use a lighter, and as you know, you can just light it up if I can get it going, and you can use that. But then another one here is really good. This is a little torch, and you can burn that, and it lights it up and it gets really hot, okay? So that's really cool. So then what I'm gonna do, so that's good there. So then we have other like, well, look at these things. These are like big matches, right?
Yeah.
So you wanna hear a story? My friend and I, we were gonna do a one match fire. And he goes, can you do a one match fire? And I'm like, I don't know, I've never done a one match fire. So the goal was you can only use one match to start your fire. Well, we were using you know, these type of, you know, fire starters, you know, a nice little match. And I thought the next time I was going to be funny, so I decided to bring this one. So who do you think won on the one match fire? Ah, that's right. I won because this thing has some fuel inside of it that when you light, it'll light for about 5 minutes. Now, one of the coolest things that I found is, what are these? Are they like corn chips? Okay, you want to know something really cool about corn chips?
What?
Well, corn chips are really salty, and what else do they have in this corn chip?
Sodium.
Sodium, well that's salt, yep, good. How about oil? They have a lot of oil. So when you light this, it'll burn. This little corn chip will burn about 3 to 5 minutes. And that is really good when you're starting a fire and it's a little damp and you want to get all the little kindling going. Well, here you go. You can take a couple chips with you, and guess what? You're going to have a nice fire in no time. Well, some of the things that you need to get the fire and get all the equipment is you need a nice little axe, or you need something like this. You know what this is? This is a saw. So you can cut your pieces and make like a nice fire like this, and you can do it with these things. It's a really light, and you can take it in your pack, and you can take it with you. Plus, a hatchet is really good. Another thing, if you have like a camping stove, this has a little flint thing in it that makes a little spark. And so you can do this, and when the gas turns on your little stove, it'll light up. So these are kind of neat things. Now, the last one I want to show you is the flint fire that we talked about. Now, I'm going to show you, you take this little flint rod, and you take your sharp object here, and you bring it across, and look at these sparks. So this is a great way also to start tinders like leaves or things like that. Okay, so this is also a great way to start your fire. Now, the last one I'm going to show you is kind of unique. Do you know what this is? I should have got it out. You have seen duct tape, right? And you hear people talking about duct tape has 100 different uses, right? Well, guess what? We got one more use. Ready?
101.
So, 101, that's right. So this is duct tape, and what you do is you take about 19 inches, which is from your elbow to the end of your fingers. So it's about 19 inches, and you take one piece and you roll it up, and you make 3 of these. And then what you do is you take your lighter and you light one edge, and you light it, and you light the other edge, and you put that down, and then you do the other, put it down. So then you have a triangle, do the third one, and put it down so you have a triangle. So you have all these 3 lit, and this is a perfect way to make a fire when it's wet. When all of your things are wet and it's really hard to do. Remember, fires are wonderful, but make sure you have an adult with you. Now, I want to tell you how much I love fires, and Amanda, can you check that fire over there? Because that seems to be really, oh my goodness, there's a lot of water. Oh my goodness, thank you. That fire is done. Thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Amanda. That was good. I just want to thank you for being a part of Ready, Set, Explore. See you later.